Political parties in Nigeria ahead of the 2027 general election are done with their primaries. However, some parties indeed are still questioning the outcome of the primary, particularly the ruling All Progressive Congress, because it didn't go down well with some who didn't really want to be good losers. But the party hierarchy has embraced everyone, regardless of whether you won the primaries or you did not, because they really want to form a strong, formidable, indivisible party. And here in Adamawa State, the case is not different. The party is gaining momentum and preparatory for the 2027 general election. Hello, dear. Thank you for joining us on Political Affairs on Kama TV. My name is Chris Jacobs, and I've been joined by the Publicity Secretary of All Progressive Congress Adamawa State, Dr. Victor Dogo. He joins me now to further the conversation. Doctor, it's a pleasure to have you on Political Affairs.
Thank you for having me.
As usual, I want to commend you for your ability to continue galvanizing support for your party.
Oh, it's a very Herculean job because we are looking at how to make sure we get everyone on board from top to bottom to one ensure that the renewed hope mandate is continued and also to ensure that the incoming governor of Adamawa State remains the APC as well as the senatorial down to the House of Assembly.
All right, you've made your point as publicity secretary of the All Progressive Congress. But talk to me for the benefit of our listeners and those who are watching the program live. The outcome of the primaries, of course, didn't really go down well with some persons because um, Nigerians hardly can find, politics is like a sport, and you must have that spirit of sportsmanship, but some persons have never embraced the fact that there might be good losers. How is your party, you know, bringing those together, particularly those who have lost in the primary?
Well, it's very clear that during an electoral cycle, you naturally have some of these tendencies springing up from different quarters.
Mm.
And I must admit that though it wasn't easy for some persons, some accepted it, some feel a little bit bad, but it is our duty as a party to ensure that we bring them to a round table where we discuss this issue and trash out our differences. Notwithstanding the fact that we started by first of all trying to go via the route of consensus where we would have done these things, you understand, amicably and then forged ahead with just one of them emerging at the different offices. But since we didn't go that way, we went ahead and naturally you must have such grievances. And of course, we did have the appeal committee, and after the appeal committee, we now proceed to the reconciliatory aspect.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about the reconciliatory aspect of it because I've seen you tirelessly, moving from pillar to post, trying to bring together those who might have felt disenfranchised, for lack of a better word. But how has their response been so far as regard to not discarding them or allowing them to discard themselves from the party?
Well, to be to say it has been quite, I would use the word really good. In as much as we do have, I think, one in particular that has been a little bit too vocal.
Mm.
But you see, most of the times you don't allow someone to cry before you now tell him the truth. We understand his pain, and but at the same time, we're still calling out and saying, don't allow your pain to crash your political career. Because when you discover that you've moved away too far, it might be difficult to come back in again. So that's why we always encourage persons that whenever there are situations of a lose, you sit down, calm down, take a nap, rest, replay everything again, and look at where it went wrong and how you could have bridged it the next time. And if it's something that you feel that it wasn't your fault and it was the fault of others, also give room for you to have an engagement to discuss with those persons that know you were not happy about this and
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And then what's the next time, please, I don't expect this to happen because, and like I did say to someone, I said, it's possible it's Mr. A that had his way today. Tomorrow it might be you. So you see, the way you carried the whole show into the public, arena might be the same way someone might play it back to you. So at times we really need to understand that politics is beyond just what you look at the surface. There are so many
There is
things
more
that
to
play
that.
out. Yes, and it's
Mm.
very, very crucial
Yeah.
to the success of any politician.
But some of these politicians are actually greenhorn. They are coming in for the very first time and they really made impact. So, what is your party doing to see that you take advantage of the support base of these politicians who are greenhorns, but yet, uh, you know how impactful they can be when it comes to general election and preparatory to the 2027 general election?
Yeah, such persons are the most sensitive to us because
Mm.
we know that the vigor and the youthful exuberance is there, and they're just stepping into the ring and trying to play the game. So such persons, we're doing all we can to reach out to them. We've already done it.
I like the word vigor and youthful exuberance.
Yes.
Perhaps you might have someone in mind. You're projecting, this
Like
conversation to.
our young man Haske.
Mm,
Oh, of course, that. And to my greatest surprise, you see Haske being, I think, amongst the youngest,
he's the youngest even,
funny enough, has not played it the way others have played.
and he's
It,
a greenhorn in
you can
politics.
imagine, but
Yeah.
instead he has calmed down. You understand, calibrated, and also been able to now sit with others.
Perhaps because he has a brighter future,
Right? Yeah, and
and he's still
that's
young.
that's what politics should all be all about.
Okay.
It's not just coming all out to say you want to fight your way through. You don't fight your way through. You play the game, learn on the game, and then you master it. It's a good example and a case study is Governor Ahmadu Umaru Fintri. Take your time to study the projectiles, study the propensities, study all that made up and culminated into Governor Fintri, who is now, by the grace of God, becoming the senator of the Northern Zone in the next few years. And most likely, I prophesy. It's funny I'm saying this.
I never knew you were a prophet.
I'm saying this that
Okay.
the projectile we're seeing with Governor Fintri, my God, I'm telling you, Nigerians will call for that man in the near future to be a president.
All right. Before we talk more on the man, Ahmadu Fintiri, there is this rumors making around, and of course, I've come across it on social media where it's been said that the APC, the ruling APC, might have a review of the primaries, in 5 states. And what I saw on social media, what I still want to certify or authenticate it, is that Galadima Tijani, that's the flag bearer of the AP Adamawa State, his name is still pending, whether or not in terms of the review of the primaries for the
I,
5 states.
I never released any information like that to the public.
Okay, but that's the more reason why I should have you on the show
So
today.
don't just debunk, just
okay.
let it lie that way
Yeah.
and let it
So
go.
I needed to make it clear to those who are watching the program right away that there is nothing of sort.
There's nothing of such, and whoever is pushing that agenda should just stop wasting his time, because whatever will come out at the end of the day might never be what they've ever envisaged, what they've ever thought of. It might be exactly what it is, what is standing. Galadima, as I speak now, and all I know is that he's still the one. And if there is any review that will come up anywhere, I'm yet to be briefed.
All right, Governor Ahmadu Umaru Fintiri broke the jinx as the first governor in northern Nigeria to have had. Okay, I know that former Governor Nasir El-Rufai did that in Kaduna State, but that of Ahmadu Fintiri is unique because there's this level of inclusivity where, his last tenure, this last lap of his administration, he had a woman as the deputy governor, as well as the 31 state local government councils vice chairman were all women. But there is this call and concern I've had in recent times about whether or not women have not really had a chance to venture into some of these offices in the last, primaries. And that, of course, still calls for concern. What could have been the reason? Because, sorry, you will talk some more. The only woman in the State House of Assembly was, or is, Honorable Kate Mamuno. But aside that, we didn't really see any woman, purchasing the form and vying for these elective offices. Is it that the APC Adamawa State does not open a door, for women inclusivity in leadership or elective office?
Let me be very sincere with you. I'm one of those that believe that your capacity, irrespective of your sex, will open doors for you. which means at the same time, I disagree with the ideology that percentage on the basis of just sex agenda, I mean, sex gender,
Yeah.
should be what should be used to allocate space. Which means, in as much as I believe that there are women of great capacity that can deliver, great women that are outstanding.
We've seen the likes of Senator Binani, Nairu Binani, Aishatu Binani. We've
Though
seen the
she,
likes
though,
of
though in the case of Binani, she spoiled her career by the time she
we've seen the
accepted.
likes of
In the case
Senator
of
Grace
wait,
Benz.
wait, in the case of
Mm.
Binani, she kind of that last opportunity she had.
Mhm.
You understand, when she accepted, knowing that the protocol was broken, the procedures was not right, and she went ahead to make an acceptance speech, disqualified her in my personal take in terms of
that singular act.
yeah, that's
All right, I will allow you to
so
catch your breath, but of course, when we come back, this is interesting now to note. Can one singular act of a politician, close the door completely without the consequence, giving the person a second chance? We'll look at this. Perhaps some persons might be encouraged, when they hear you talk some more. All right, you're watching Political Affairs on the Camera TV. We'll take a short break. We're back in a moment. And for those of you following the conversation on our Facebook page, you can send your message, questions, suggestions to the comment section. Hopefully, Dr. Victor Dogo will respond to you swiftly. Join us again. All right, you're welcome back. But if you're just tuning, you're watching Political Affairs on Camera TV. I've been speaking with the Publicity Secretary of Progressive Congress at Adamawa State, Dr. Victor Dogo. The conversation is getting interesting. The part one of the conversation indeed has been interesting. Now we'll venture into the part two of this conversation. Doctor, before the break, you made a very cogent statement that, okay, when I asked you about women's participation in the primaries in your party or Progressive Congress, and I gave an example with, some women who have held political office and they did credibly well, the likes of Aisha Tubinani, the likes of Senator Grace Jackson Ben. But you made a very cogent and critical, statement that the steps she took without considering the protocol and the process of the last election, accepting, a victory, giving her victory speech, has indeed shut the door against her towards her supporters. Can a politician miss out completely because of just one mistake? What is considered an abnormality?
yes, there are two sides to it. One, if you deliberately commit an action that is legally, constitutionally, in any form, you understand, that presents that thing as an abuse of the system, you might not be forgiven. Because, like in our own case, no matter how good she might have felt she was, taking the step, knowing that what was being done as a legislator, you understand, showed that she was very, very wrong. Because she knew who exactly was responsible for making such
But does that negate
But
her
that doesn't
capability
mean
for
that-
good governance?
when you start to breach such things, it become a problem. So unless you have to revisit that thing and address it and apologize to Nigeria, apologize to the people of Adamawa State, that what you did was really wrong. In as much as probably you were not too sure or you were sure, that is left for you to now make the clarification. You understand? So that's aside. That's why I don't see her as a person that can sway people any longer in terms of political movement in Adamawa State. Now, talking about others, there are those that might have made certain mistakes, which are not really, but out of anger, expressing their grievances. You understand? There is still an opportunity to turn around. For example, now, those that lost out, you understand? Some of them might not know when they will, be a little bit too vocal. Such situations, you can still revisit yourself and align with yourself, and then come out and address it by the way you relate with your party. And your party will always forgive you. But in other aspects, where it comes to the constitutional abuse of system, even the system will be waiting for you forever.
All right.
So it's a two-way thing. It could be good and it could be very dangerous.
Interesting. Doctor, is your party considering a female running mate for your flag bearer?
Well, I wouldn't want to conclude on that, but if it does, good and fine. But for now, I have not. One stage at a time. So where we are right now is we are at the stage of reconciliation. We're trying to make sure everyone is on the same page. We're on the same table and we're discussing the same way forward. That presently it has come to stand that the present gubernatorial candidate is Galadima, and that is where we are right now. And then others that felt they were a little bit not happy that they didn't emerge, you understand? We're reaching out, we're talking, and their followers also are reaching out to their followers, and we're talking and we're trying to do all we can to be on the same page. Creates an emblem around you that will make you accepted by the people. It's important.
All right, Dr. Victor Dogo, I know if I don't hold you, you keep on talking about and over again. Anyway, I never knew you were a prophet. Thanks for that prophecy.
Watch out for Governor Fitri. You know, this man, people, a lot of people have been underrating. They've been underrating that man.
All right, viewers, that's our show for today. Thank you so very much for being with us from South of Phoenix. Join us again same time, same station as we come with a fresh edition of the program. Until then, stay safe. I remain Chris Jacobs. God bless Nigeria.